Food is fuel for your body, your mind, and definitely your sport. But let's face it, nutrition is confusing, and the expectations on girls and women to be thin and have a six-pack are exhausting. If you've ever been frustrated with your body, confused about nutrition, obsessed with eating healthy, or guilty when you don't, underate, overate, or overtrained, and overwhelmed with all the pressure, then this podcast is for you. Nutrition can be easy, you can take control of it, but it might start with letting go of control by asking for help and making a change. I'm Lindsey Elizabeth Cortes, sports dietitian and owner of Rise Up Nutrition, where I empower female athletes to overcome nutrition concerns and perform at their highest level, to stop being confused by all the mixed or harmful messages, and finally have confidence in your body as a fierce, fit, and fueled female athlete. Hello, fans and listeners. It's Lindsey Elizabeth Cortes, your host of the podcast. I'm here today with Whitney Otto. She is a U.S. World Rowing Champion and 2000 Olympic alternate who pivoted her skills and passion into helping individuals and teams achieve their goals through leadership development and clinical intervention. She holds a BA from Brown University, an MA in counseling psychology from Lesley University, and a professional coaching certification from the Coaches Training Institute. Her clinical perspectives are informed by over a decade of experience treating eating disorders. Her inspiring and collaborative style was further honed through years of experience serving as a master coach for physicians, elite athletes, entrepreneurs, and C-suite executives. Whitney serves as a master performance coach and consultant at Valor Performance, and coach for R3 Continuum, serving senior level clients at Deloitte. Whitney also serves as group guide for Chief. She is the co-host of Untrained, a podcast that launched in January of 2023, focusing on giving the tools and mindsets needed to help corporate executives untrain from toxic mindsets and perspectives that result in professional success at personal expense. Whitney is the co-author of the new book, Body Image Inside Out, which she wrote with Deb Schneider. It is a revolutionary approach to body image healing. Deb is nationally recognized body image therapist, and Whitney is a world champion athlete, as I just mentioned, with many years of experience in this as well. Their inside out approach invites us to start to build a better relationship with our critical thoughts, what they call couples therapy for you and your body image. Whitney, thank you so much for joining on the Female Athlete Nutrition Podcast today.
I'm really excited to be here. I listened to a couple episodes and it's a great podcast.
Yeah. And I think that people who are currently female athletes, but maybe then transitioning to career life, work life, need to tune into the Untrained podcast. Since your podcast that you host, and we can see so much of how we might need to do some training and untraining, how much sports can really help athletes be successful, but there's certain things we need to learn differently in a corporate environment as well.
Well, or as we get older, or if we get injured, right? There's so many times we need to do a little untraining of ourselves.
Yeah. So definitely shout out to that podcast and have people tune into that. Yeah, I'm so excited to have you on. And unfortunately, Deb couldn't make it, but this book that you both co-authored together, I think is just so needed for many people, many women, and I think can be really powerful for athletes too. People assume that athletes, they're fit, they're muscular, they're strong, they've got it all together with their body, they're healthy, and we put this expectation. Society might even put an additional layer of expectation on athletes to assume that they have great body image and are confident in it, but then that in itself can turn into more body image pressures on athletes. So I think that this is such an important topic for athletes to address their relationship with their body.
So, and one of the reasons I think that is because athletes have such a strong identity and relationship with their body, but not necessarily a relationship with their body image. So if we go back to people assume athletes have the great body image, right? There is an assumption that we are trying to challenge that your body image is however close or far your body is to an ideal of whatever culture you're in. And so, I've heard people say oh, so-and-so shouldn't have bad body image or blah, 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 or why did you have a bad body image, whatever it is. And we always say that our body image is distinct and separate from how we look in the mirror. It is perhaps
Yeah.
informed by that, but so many other things go into our experience of our body image. We have been in these bodies our whole lives. They have been collecting information our whole lives. And body image is about way more than what we look like in the mirror.
I found myself saying something to clients over the years, which probably isn't completely true. So I'd love your input on it. But stemming from that idea, I found myself saying that your body image has nothing to do with your body's image and how it actually looks. Like we say this phrase body image, but it's such a subjective thing, what you
Yeah.
look like, that it really doesn't have anything to do with the actual physical look of your body. I mean, it might in some way, shape, or form, but what you were getting at, it's not really even about your body. It's about this inner relationship.
Exactly. I mean, it can certainly be triggered by what we see in the mirror or influenced by what
Yeah.
we see in the mirror, but our body image is about our personality, our life experiences, the information we've gathered about our value, our traumas, our dreams, our aspirations. All of that is part of body image. And I always say, and I'm sure you can relate to this because of the line you're working, there's two ways I can prove this. One, we all know somebody who fits the ideal, who doesn't regularly have a quote unquote good body image, right?
Yeah.
We know people who don't fit quote unquote the cultural beauty standard ideal, who have a particularly strong relationship with their body and body image. And also, we've all had the experience of in the morning having one particular body image. Maybe it's sort of like neutral or slightly positive, but by the middle of the day, we feel terrible about ourselves. Our body could not have changed. It could not have changed. Yet, the feelings we have about it have drastically changed. And that to me proves that our body image is about way more than just how we look in the mirror. So what do you think about that? How do you explain it to your clients?
Oh, I agree completely. So when I'm meeting with a client, and I'm the dietitian, but client comes to me and, well, what's good and bad with your week? We go over their wins, what they're struggling with. And it comes out like, well, I'm having a really bad body image week or a really bad body image day. I kind of pause. Okay, what's going on? And I try and get a feel for what happened in your day.
Yes.
Oh, so you're in a fight with your friend and you didn't sleep well and you had a really rough workout. Oh, that's what happened. And now suddenly you have bad body image, and it's like, so what I try and do as a dietitian, none of those three things that I said really have anything to do with nutrition, but I try and help them and consult them through those three things. Or maybe even show them, hey, you didn't have a great workout. How can we recover our body, fuel better? What's a great night snack we can have? Maybe a tea and a bedtime routine to go to bed, get better sleep tonight. And so, we get better sleep. We send a text to our friend to meet up for coffee, and we fuel and nourish our bodies so that we feel more confident going into the next day's workout. And oh my gosh, suddenly our body image is better. Right? So like that's kind of how I go about it.
Brilliant. It's totally aligned with the book. And I'm going to draw a parallel here. One of the things you learn in positive psychology that I applied as an athlete is that sometimes you get off of a practice and you say, oh, I'm bad. I'm a bad athlete. I'm a bad lacrosse player, a bad soccer player, whatever. I'm bad. I had a bad practice. You could change that to, I had a bad practice because I wasn't I didn't sleep enough, or I wasn't focused, or I just had an off day. I am not bad. I had a bad practice. Similarly, what we love to do is teach folks to take the attitude out and say, not, I am so X, Y, or Z, right? Which leads to describing their bad body image. My body is to this, my body is to that. To say, I'm having a bad body image. I'm having a moment where I don't want to wear my tight uniform because I feel vulnerable and uncomfortable in it, right? Describing what's actually happened versus my body image is terrible. I'm terrible. My practice was terrible. I'm a terrible athlete, right? Like particularly younger folks might go to those black and white thinking extremes. So I'm sure you talk about that a lot and see that a lot.
Oh, absolutely. And I'd like to ask you too, off of that, how important is it to validate when we are having bad body image to say, oh, I'm having a bad body image day or moment? Because there's so much talk nowadays about having positive
Oh,
body image and,
yeah.
body love, body positivity. How okay, you're expressing some feelings already. So how important is it to validate that it is okay to have bad body image moments or days? Like,
I'm gonna answer that in a couple of different ways. We just had a launch event, and one of the questions was like, how are you guys a little different? And what do you think about the body positivity movement? And our answer is, part of the body positivity movement is that all bodies are good bodies. And we were like, could not be more behind that. All bodies are inherently good, beautiful, wonderful bodies. But
yeah.
part of the body positive movement, I think, has become that we need to extend positive regard towards our bodies at all moments, or we are not good at positive body, whatever it is, right? And we believe the opposite, that we need to really be curious, just as you did with your client. What happened this week? What is it that's going on that may have contributed to this negative body image? Let's get curious. Let's dive into it. I want to know the thoughts and feelings that you're having, and I want to know what might have gone into them. And here's where we validate. So we start with the remove the judgment. Okay. You're not all bad. So you're trying on outfits for tomorrow and nothing looks good. So not I'm bad, but I'm having a bad body image moment and nothing I'm trying on for tomorrow looks good, right? Maybe I'm giving a big presentation at school or at work. And then, like you said, being curious. What is it that's going on? What is it that might have you feeling feelings that are too big or that you can't somehow handle in some way, that are too much for you?
Yeah.
And then validate the crap out of those, right? Yeah, it's a big thing to be giving a presentation in front of your high school class and you have a crush on somebody in it, or, to be going up for this job and you're trying to figure out what to wear, or going on a date, or whatever it is. Like validating the feelings that are triggering this bad body image. Or, I think like, yeah, it sucks to have a bad body image. What's that like for you? What's hard about it? Because so often, and there's like the different elements of the book. So often we feel it's a much deeper vulnerability that we didn't know how to manage or tend to. The body image at some point in our lives stepped in to say, I'll help you save the day. We just need to change the shape of you. We just need to change how fit you are. We just need to change you. And then you're going to feel okay.
Yeah.
And when that can start early on, and we practice it, just like we're athletes, we practice shit, right? Like that gets in there. That becomes a way we respond without even knowing it, unconsciously, habitually, right? So untraining that, my body image is bad, I need to change it and fix it. That's where we talk about sort of the rotary. You're talking about your clients on that rotary of like, when the moment they want to fix something, you go, wait. What happened this week? What's actually going on? And then we have different strategies. Then we're training, describing the situation neutrally, getting curious, and validating and bringing compassion to the feelings behind them.
Yeah, and removing the judgment. You said earlier too as well. That's just huge. And I think that's been a turning point in my personal life as well. My relationship with body image was removing any judgment. Like, so again, we started this conversation saying like your body image it's inside out, as the book, it's less about the outward appearance, but at the same time, there are days when I'm like, oh, my hair.
Yes, 100%.
You're like, oh, but I am more squishy in my belly.
Yes.
That are physical things, but I have to remove the judgment that having a squishy belly does not equate to bad. Having a hair day it doesn't mean I'm a bad person. There's no judgment. It just, can I have some spray or put it in a ponytail, or like,
Right.
with the squishy belly, put on a different shirt so I don't have to think about it. There's no judgment there.
Yeah. And I think, again, it's unrealistic to think if we've been training ourselves in judgment for decades, right, that it suddenly goes away, right? Because our body's always changing. So now I have lots of squishy parts, and I'm not always like, oh, I love you, Whitney. I love all your squishy parts. Sometimes I'm like, ugh, what happened here? But I can hold that. I can hold that with what's happening to my identity, right? My identity is changing, and I can hold great compassion for the fact that my identity is changing and put on a different pair of pants. We have a whole chapter on clothing, right? Like, what am I going to put on given that I'm feeling this way to help myself feel better? Am I going to put on something loose and soft, or am I going to put on something that makes me feel a little more badass, and youthful, or whatever it is? But we're constantly playing with, again, from a spirit of compassion, not from a spirit of fixing or changing, what would help me in this moment?
Yeah. Funny you bring up that you have a whole chapter about clothing, because I am not a fashionista, never have been. Can't believe how many conversations I've had over the years with clients about clothing and finding clothes that you feel comfortable in, that fit you, that make you feel cute, that make you feel sexy, that make you feel confident. And I'm just like, that's not, I'm not, I hate shopping.
But what does make you
it's
feel
something
good?
I've learned.
Because you have to get dressed.
You do. And you have to figure that out. And so by helping my clients, I've helped myself as well in that resistance that I personally had towards shopping and fashion. And I've gotten so much better at that myself. I have with a lot of my clients, I have this silly challenge of crop top, no crop top, because the whole point is it's not about the crop top. It's, if it's that mindset of if you got it, flaunt it. If you're feeling it, go for it. But also you don't need to. Put on the baggy t-shirt and embrace that. And we kind of go through different little challenges of, exploring different clothing options and seeing how that makes you feel in certain scenarios and just exploring it.
And I love that how does this make you feel? What a powerful question. Not how do you think people will respond to you? What do you think will make people like you or whatever? But how does this make you feel? So powerful. And that's the essence of chapter 9. And I think that's really powerful training. How does this make me feel?
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah. I'm just for the sake of sharing ideas with listeners, and I'm going to go off this crop top example. In the past, maybe a crop top made me, feel cute. I'm a mother of 2 now, and I wear a crop top, but it feels inappropriate. It has nothing to do with my body shape or size or fitness level or, it's kind of going again to the identity. Wearing this crop top doesn't feel a good match for my identity anymore, kind of who I am internally.
Right. And I
it has
think
nothing to do with the actual shirt.
And sometimes we're in between identities, especially when motherhood's a great example. We're aging when our bodies are changing. And we may have lost one identity and not quite found a new one yet. And to just be gentle with that. And that, even getting clear, not this, is valuable.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another one with clothing I've done with clients. It's I found nothing that I feel good in, nothing that fits, nothing that's comfortable. Okay, well, it's not this.
It's not this.
That's still something. Okay. That's still, even though that was maybe a frustrating experience in the closet that morning, you narrowed things down. Now we do know we are going to go to the store this weekend and find different options,
And I do think grief is a part of these conversations, right? There's grief in losing an identity that you liked or loved and that you won't get back. And not that we need to indulge that, but just honoring that, there may be some grief involved in our identities and how our bodies represent them. And that's one of the reasons why I think athletics and body image are so intense and profound, because our bodies are our vehicles. Our bodies are so tied to our identities as athletes. And it can get very confusing Also,
Mhm.
as you said, many athletes are in these bodies where people are like, well, you should feel great about yourself, like all
Yeah.
the time. And you're in these bodies where if you eat quote unquote healthfully or clean or whatever the ways that the culture is touting,
Yeah.
and you're disciplined, you're going to get rewarded. But that may be part of your own fix it, change it cycle that's not
Mhm.
ultimately healthy for you, but they get
Mhm.
very enmeshed. So I'm sure you see this a lot. I'd love to hear how you talk about it or work with it.
Yeah. Well, I definitely, from the nutrition and body side of things, even have to separate from body image. I have to do that with food as well, that we're not eating to look a certain way. We're eating to fuel and perform in the same way that with body image, our body isn't here to look a certain way. It's here to function.
Mm-hmm.
So as an athlete, we're eating so that we can go do this race, do this competition, lift this weight. Our body is here, our muscles are here, our bones are here, our lungs are here, our nose is here to breathe, to push, to pull, to jump, and really focusing on that like function of your body as opposed to the aesthetic, I think is like kind of how I handle it. And it goes side by side with the fueling piece too. Like we're not eating for aesthetic, we're eating to perform, and our body isn't here just to look at, it's here to function. And that can be in sport, which is empowering. But I also think it's important for athletes to recognize the value of their physical body outside of
Oh,
just
yes.
sport performance, but like get out of bed, recover from sickness, have a healthy immune system, keep breathing through the night. Like your body is doing so much for you beside just like how many hours did I lift in the gym today? Right.
Yeah. And I
So
think
those are
that
some ways that I combat that.
Yeah. And one of the modalities that really helped us inform this book is internal family systems, and the idea that we have various parts and that we can have a part that may be a judgmental body image part or one that shows up with a lot of body image energy. And we can cultivate a inner nutritionist part, right? That goes, oh, okay, I know how I'm feeling, but I also know what I need to do to fuel my body to be healthy, right? And which one they can coexist, and cultivating the ability to listen to both and not have one drown out all the others. Because body image, we say very often, like gets the megaphone and is the one screaming in our ear, change yourself, fix yourself. And it's hard to hear the other voices. So again, all of this we think is a practice. So the practice of how do I feel in this outfit, or the practice of what do I know my body needs to eat based on what I'm learning from my nutritionist and my own experiments, that's really helpful to cultivate, even if body image negative voices are still there.
So as you've said a couple times, how the body image voice is saying, change yourself, fix yourself. And just as our conversation's going along, I'm like, it needs to be, I don't know if you have a different phrase, but it needs to be like, accept yourself, work with yourself, or something along those lines, right?
Well, so I'm going to say two things. One, change yourself, fix yourself is so empowering as an athlete. I can get better. I can get stronger.
I can improve.
I can be celebrated for this.
Empowering.
I can build all these really important muscles that I can use in the culture, right?
Yeah. I can build muscle. I can get faster.
Yeah, I can focus. I can train. I can
improve. You're getting me amped up already.
Right? So empowering. But when and this is what I found when I left my athletic pursuit. When I applied some of the things I had learned in athletics, effort will solve everything. Changing and fixing myself will solve all my problems. Guess what? They didn't. And very often it was, at my personal expense. So I wanted to go off on that tangent. And I love how you're saying, like, what's the sort of opposite of change it, fix it? I mean, there's many things that could be true. I would think for our book, it's like learning to listen. To listen.
I like that.
Because our bodies.
I like that better than accept.
Well, maybe accept is like after listen. It's like, but accept is like, if we can't accept, then it's like, I just failed at it. Right. But listening, you can't fail at it. Oh, I'm listening and I'm hearing a lot of negative voices, or I'm listening and my sensations are feeling really, really expansive or overwhelmed or warm or whatever it is. That's one of the things that we have a whole chapter on sensations, because our bodies are our antennas and our bodies are trained to perceive what's going on around us. And before we could ever speak, right? You've got young kids that their body's the antenna. They're taking in all sorts of information through their bodies, right? And that's how we all started out. So training ourselves to just kind of get back into our bodies by noticing our own sensations. And that might be overwhelming for some people. And, you could be like, all right, start with your left toes. What do you notice about your left toes? But just bringing some presence and intention that has nothing to do with performance or ability to our bodies to listen.
Wow. This is so fascinating. I'm trying so hard to not turn this into the parenting podcast, but when you're in the thick of it, it's just hard. Well, my 3-year-old, we're having some, like, the emotional struggle, and he's what I've learned is what's called a sensory seeker. And like to regulate his emotions, we need to do certain physical sensory activities. And so interesting, this chapter you have about sensation and how that affects how your emotional state and how you feel. I'm like, oh my gosh, I see that playing out in a 3-year-old right now. Of course, that's going to play out, just as human beings, but just expresses itself differently. But how listen to your body, like, and really how it's feeling and different sensations can impact the way that you think and your emotional state.
Right. And think of how many tools we have today as parents for helping our kids manage their feelings. And we're trained to be attuned to our feelings, and then we can attune to their feelings. Many of our parents didn't have that, right? And so they couldn't pass down what they didn't have, right? So they couldn't help us attune to ourselves. They couldn't help us manage our overwhelm. I mean, these are blanket statements, but we run into it a lot. So body image can be a way that helps us manage that, right?
Yeah. It can so quickly be, oh, I'm feeling overwhelmed. And so my body image voice is saying, change it, fix it, thinking that's the quick solution. Or we can read your book, learn these tactics, and body image can actually be something that helps us regulate.
Yeah. But
if we can learn to switch it.
Yeah. And I believe, like, people like you being in dialogue with folks about it is so healing, because, I always say body image healing is not an individual sport. It's a team sport, right? We need folks to help us train what we never learned. We need folks to hold safe spaces when we maybe our body didn't feel like a safe space, right? Because maybe there was just too much feelings in there, too much. And so we went into I'm going to fix it, change it strategy. And then we got some relief. So
I love that. I actually never thought about a body image being like, hey, we need a team approach or strategy to it. I know with nutrition, something that prevents people from fixing their nutrition stuff is just that idea of, like, everybody eats. I've always eaten, therefore I should know how to do this. It should be easy. And it's like, oh no, it's okay to need help with eating. It's okay. Just because you've been doing it since you were born doesn't mean you're an expert at it, right? And it's okay to need help. And I think that's the same thing with body image. It's like, oh, these are my thoughts. This is my issue. This is my,
I need to fix it.
I need to fix these thoughts in my head, my view of myself. And it's like, wait, no, this actually can be a team effort with proper, people and support system to really learn this. It's not inherent.
No.
It's,
Right. It's maybe something how to nourish, right? Because at the end of the day, it's how to know ourselves, listen to ourselves, nourish ourselves is something a lot of us were not trained in. And, you see it on the front lines in your work as a nutritionist. I see it on the front lines in the corporate world as my work, working with super high level executives. They may know how to get the job done, but just like with your athletes, you could have a high performing athlete that doesn't know how to nourish themselves well, right? That is a skill that we can learn, and it's okay if we don't know how to do it.
Yeah. Wow. Oh man, Whitney, I have this long list of questions, but we've just been having an amazing conversation. But one of my questions that I wanted to really dig into is like, okay, we've been talking about how to change our mindset and things like that. But so let's just imagine that you do have negative body image right now. What are some ways that that might actually, like our negative body image might actually be trying to help us? We assume if we have bad body image, that's something that's hurting us. It's not good, which yes, but how is this a sign that this is somehow trying to help us instead of hurt
that's
us?
sort of a late, that's something we can sort of like towards the end of the book, right? That sorts itself out. But let's just take, the example of what's a common thing that you see in your clients, like a case example.
Regarding body image?
Yeah, regarding body image with the fuller context of what might be going on, where body image might be coming from.
My athletes, very often they need to eat more to properly fuel. Then they eat more and then they feel that they're gaining weight or they're bloated and that makes them feel uncomfortable, bad body image. They don't like how that feels. They're nervous. That's going to affect their performance. And then they go right back to eating less again.
Wow. That's pretty intense.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What do you ask them? What are the questions that you ask them?
Well, for my clients, I think ultimately just really encouraging them that this is what's right for their body and asking them to be open to a change and seeing where it, ends up, and then having them questioning how it really feels. So, okay, they are saying that they feel bloated or heavy. Well, how did you feel in your workout? How did you perform in that game? How did you feel at that meal? Oh, well, I felt more satisfied. Well, that's a good thing. I didn't feel as hungry all day. Well, that's a good thing. I did have a really good workout. Well, that's a good thing. So I think in those situations of where their bad body image of I ate more, now I don't feel as good in my skin, but I try and find other areas where they are feeling good, or at least can show them examples of other clients who have persevered and felt good if they continue on the path,
And what is their primary, what do they care more about? Performing well in their game or feeling comfortable in their words?
This is tricky because an athlete, you would assume, will do anything to, perform their best. But the aesthetic gets caught up in it. It really does. Sometimes it's beliefs that they do need to look a certain way to perform their best. And this also gets really difficult in weight class sports or aesthetic sports. So it's like, okay, we have to give a nod that there's overlap, but still have to somehow untangle weight and shape and image from performance, true performance. And then really it is continuing, like oh my God, am I a dietitian or a motivational coach over here of like motivating them that that really what they are seeking is the performance. It really is. That's what they've worked so hard for. That's what they're training for, and really trying to get them to feel that the joy of performance and sport and movement and involvement and camaraderie and teamwork and effort more so than, just, how we look showing up at the starting line or whatever it might be. So yeah, when you ask, what is it that they really care for, they do care about both. And we're trying to really like unravel that.
And I'm curious, or I'm sure you probably have a sense of this, like what, a strong athletic performance will get them, what they think the reward is or what they want from it. And what is the reward or what is that they want from being a certain weight or feeling a certain way in their skin? What do they believe that's getting them?
Yeah.
Do you have a sense of that?
I do. I think it can vary a little bit for each client, but if we focus on the aesthetic of, this is how I want my body to look. For a lot of people, it is, some sort of like maybe attention. Like I want that validation from other people, that praise of how I look. It might also be protective. Maybe they did receive negative comments at one point in their life.
Yeah.
So it's not that I want extra attention. I just want to avoid the bad attention that I once received when I was called a certain name or whatever it might be. So there's that aspect. And then What do we want out of performing well? We want to feel successful, that our work paid off, that we're going to make it to the next level of our dream, our goal, our ambition of competing in college or getting a pro deal, whatever it might be. And sometimes the aesthetic gets confused in that too, because it's, well, I want to look a certain way so that I can make it to the next level. That happens sometimes.
Right.
So they think.
Right. Especially maybe coaches can say things that make people believe that as well.
Yeah.
Right. So, in some ways, people aren't bought into always what it is that you're there to help them with. Right.
Oh, yeah.
That makes your job really hard.
It does.
Right.
It does.
And I think, these are deeper. The case examples you're bringing up are like, that's when you probably tend to refer to someone to do deeper work around some of the earlier messages that got in there that body image is trying to, help manage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When I have an athlete that I can, they say, well, I felt this way, but I'm going to do what you said anyways. Oh, that's great. But yeah, when we have the athletes that get confused on their
Can we talk for a minute about
goals?
The female athlete triad?
Yeah, I do all the time.
And I just have a little, like, I was talking about it 20 years ago, and I feel like it's still not common knowledge. So I just think we can't talk about it enough, because that's one of the places where our bodies our bodies have the final answer, right? If body image is a short-term solution, right? And I think the female athlete triad demonstrates that when we restrict, that's a short-term solution that will have long-term negative consequences on our performance, on our health, on our et cetera. So do you want to give a little infomercial on it?
So this is exactly why. So I've when I gave you the case example, is because so many of my clients have that's become a niche of mine. It is clients that are struggling, female athlete triad, REDS, underfueling, disordered eating. And it's like, it's not as simple as just, hey, we're going to eat this way to perform better, because the body image issues get trapped in there. And so our body image issues are affecting our nutrition choices and behaviors. And that then affects our internal health, like our hormones and our bones, which unfortunately we don't see immediately.
Right.
That's the long-term consequence. And so it really is this really in-depth work when I'm working with clients. That's why, some clients come to me and I'm just going to be upfront. I end up getting to a point where I share with them my pricing. And it's like, because this is really difficult work that I'm doing with you, really difficult. If it's as simple as you needing a meal plan, that's fine. That's, one charge. But these very difficult complications and working through the psychological aspect, the body image aspect, the fueling aspect, and then the long-term, how this is affecting you long-term it's so involved. So yeah, female athlete triad, just to kind of recap for listeners, it's the triad combination of how much we are eating. Are we fueling adequately, optimally, or potentially under eating? And then our bone health gets thrown in there. Do we have good, strong bones, or are they weakened bones? Do we have osteopenia, osteoporosis? And then our hormonal health in females, we base that off of our reproductive hormones. Do we have a normal menstrual cycle? Is it missing? Is it irregular? And so if we have irregular menstrual cycle, suboptimal bone density, and suboptimal fueling, that's the triad there. And we have to ask ourselves, well, why? Why is this all happening? Some people, it's a lack of education. I simply didn't know I was supposed to eat X amount. And for some people, it's trauma, or a lack of food provided to them, a bad environment, a toxic environment. And then for others, it's these body image issues. Restricting because whether I felt uncomfortable in my body or somebody told me I would be better in a different body. We have to get to the root of that. We have to fix that in order to fix the triad.
Exactly. And if we don't fix the triad, we're going to have negative consequences to our performance and our health at some point. I think, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. When we get off air, I might have a few more personal questions for you, but about writing a book. I've started writing my own book. And as in the first few months was just getting ideas out. And my intro chapter, I was just getting ideas out. And it was like, it all stemmed back to body image. And it was it was very eye-opening for me. And I was like, wait a second. I had to kind of pause and reflect. I was like, I want body image to be a part of this book, but I don't want it to be a body image book. Not everybody has body image issues, though I do believe everybody can see improvement when they work on it. Yeah.
As Deb says, we all have bodies and we all have feelings about them.
There you go. Yeah. It doesn't have to be negative or terrible in order to feel better about something. But it was just so interesting as I was like getting all these thoughts out, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is just how intertwined body image is with athletes and female athletes and with nutrition.
It's so intertwined.
It's crazy.
It's so intertwined. And it gets deep quickly, right?
Yeah.
It's about nourishing our bodies, nourishing our performance, and the polarity between, I think this will help me get my needs met, or I think this will help me get my needs met. And how do we get to those beliefs, right, in the first place?
Yeah.
Which is why nutritionists often work hand in hand with therapists.
Yes. Absolutely.
Well,
so,
I am just for those subclinical body image things. I mean, I think what I love is getting it in conversations, and ideally it's like in conversations amongst friends. Like, wouldn't it be great if instead of like, I feel so ugly in this outfit or whatever, instead of, no, you don't, you look fine, right? Oh, well, what are you feeling? What is it about where you're going? What is it? What's been happening lately? Like, just bringing that curiosity and modeling, like, well, maybe it has more to do with that than something else. And like, gosh, that's a big deal that's going on. And, validating and attending to the deeper issue. I mean, at the end of the day, if you can get to the end of the book, or what was so empowering for me about writing the book is because I was trapped in that cycle of like, if I look this certain way or achieve this certain thing, I will get my needs met. I will be seen accurately, right? Yay, that's where the reward is. But it doesn't work, right? And what we need to do, I mean, I tried it for a long time, but figuring out what my body needs, figuring out what my spirit, my emotions need, and figuring out how to attend to those needs, that moves the dial. That moves the dial over time towards confidence, towards feeling comfortable in your skin, towards all sorts of things. And I needed a lot of help with it. And I think a lot of people who are really struggling will need help to make the shift.
Yeah.
A book is great, but people are better.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes that book is that first step, right? Read it, get things going in your own brain, start working on some things. And then it's like, oh, I need more help. I need more support, or I want to dive into this aspect further.
Yeah.
And that book makes it so accessible. And then now you've got two more people. And then this is what I read a book, and then I like look for a podcast with them. And then I find other things they put out, and I find their blogs, and you get, it's a pathway to so many other resources, and then maybe getting that help that you need. So I'd like to hear more specifically about the book, Body Image Inside Out. Like, we're kind of having this conversation about athletes, but can anybody, like, who benefits from this book?
All the book. Yeah.
This, like, all genders, all ages. Who do you think is best for?
Most of our workshops, to be fair, have been people identified as female, but we wrote it with everybody in mind. It's not specifically for athletes, but I put a lot of my experience in there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of worksheets. There's a lot of fill this out. As an athlete, I love, like, just have me fill it out. Just show me what to do. Right. So in that way, it's athlete friendly and can just help you, again, couples therapy for you and your body image, help you develop a relationship with your body image so you understand it as separate and distinct from just what you see in the mirror, informed by what you see in the mirror, but so much more goes into it. So it'll help you with that relationship. And, when we improve our relationships, everything improves.
Yeah. I love having the, like you said, activities, some worksheet things in there, because here's another silly little slogan of mine, that body image is like hygiene. If you're dirty, you take a shower, but like a week later, you're going to be dirty again. So you need to take another shower. You need to take another shower. And so keeping up with your hygiene, keeping up with your body image, it's not just like something like, oh yeah, I did this workshop when I was 20 and I'm good for life. No, as we go on through life, we have to always
It's like
be
yoga.
listening to our body. And yes, in tune with it, practicing it. Just
You don't
like
go to yoga once. You go to yoga regularly. These are
It's a practice.
practices.
Yeah. So you have
Feeding
to keep up
ourselves
with it.
a practice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's not something that you just change it, fix it. It's something you continually practice and do. So I love those worksheets because not only for somebody who's looking for that transformation, it probably helps them in that moment, but then it's also something you can always go back to because your body changes and your feelings change. Your feelings about your body change over time. So you might, get to a better place with your body image now, but then find yourself 5 years from now kind of struggling again. Go back to those
100%.
worksheets.
I'm working with a lot of people in their, 40s, 50s, where they're like, I was so good and now I'm not. I'm like, yeah, your body just changed. Your identity's changing. It makes sense.
Yeah. And it's such a thing, right? People are like, what happened? My body changed. What happened? And just that approach of like, okay, life happened. It's okay.
And it's normal.
It's so nice. It's normal.
It's natural.
Instead of putting the blame.
Yeah. And like
somewhere.
I said, I've left dressing rooms trying on bathing suits when parts of my body have moved around and been in tears, right? There's some grief in having to accept changes about our bodies as we move through life.
And I so appreciate you just saying that. I think that provides a big relief to people who go through that experience and feel that, they're all alone or, because it is a difficult experience.
Oh,
but
it's difficult.
To hear somebody like you say that is powerful to know, oh, this happens.
Yeah. I mean, I was writing the book and I always say this, like I had one screen up with a manuscript and I had one screen up with some, anti-aging intervention. And I was like, I'm such a hypocrite. How could I be contemplating this? And, in the end of the day, I decided I could do that procedure if I could do it from a spirit of self-love. But if I approached it from a spirit of self-hate, I wasn't allowed to do it. I haven't done it, but that's sort of my guiding principle.
Self-love. Yes. No, I think can we talk about this for a few more moments because I think this is huge. My former coworker Jenna won't mind me sharing this because she's been public about it, even on her social media public pages. But she's somebody that has had cosmetic work done, but it's from a place of self-love. She struggled with an eating disorder when she was younger, and some things with her. How she feels that like when her eyes started to lose collagen and kind of got sunken in, it reminded her of such a terrible time in her life that she has grown from and she has healed from and she is nourished and she is strong now. And so she had some cosmetic work done to, kind of remove, which was a natural thing of aging, but it was empowering for her. It was from a place of self-love of I'm a different person than I was before. And when she shared that story with me, that was very eye-opening for me because I had kind of taken the stance of like, accept aging, accept your body, accept when things get squishy. I had really kind of taken that approach. And then it was like, no, you are allowed to change your body from a place of self-love. And I'm looking at you with this beautiful pink hair. And I did that. I did pink and I did blue multiple times in my life, not at this moment in time, but it came from a place of self-love of this is so fun. I want to do this. It's not because I need to change who I am at the core. It's because I love pink and I love the color blue in my hair and it looks so cool, right? Like
and
that's it's from a place of self-love.
Yes. And how does that make you feel? Or how do I feel when I think of doing this X, Y, or Z? We want to be really curious because I've certainly had times where I could have answered like, oh, I can't show my face unless I fix myself, right? That's not something I want to be supporting in myself.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I also appreciate your transparency of that story as you're writing the book, thoughts going through your head, because I think those are the best people to take advice from are the ones who are truly going, like, looking inwards to themselves and really like, I'm not just teaching other people. I'm doing this in my own
I
life.
know.
I'm practicing it in my own life.
I would joke with my husband. I'm like, so, who's going to write a book about body image? Because I'm really having bad body image right now from all this aging stuff,
Yeah. And you're the perfect person because you can resonate. So does your book also include like stories, like transformative stories?
Yeah. So
for other
we
people?
have
Amazing.
tons of anecdotes because that's so important. That's how we learn. We learn through stories and based on combination of factors from various clients of ours. We sort of mushed them all together so they couldn't be identifiable and made some things up based on trends we saw. And we have Instagram account where you can also, we share ideas and more at Body Image Inside Out. We have a website at Body Image Inside Out where you can learn about upcoming workshops. We've got one for therapists and clinicians in June and then for the general population in the fall.
Amazing. We will include all those links in the show notes, and your book can be found on Amazon, in bookstores.
You can,
We'll include
and wherever
those
you
links.
find your books, you can find it.
Amazing. Whitney, before I let you go, I have some fast question, rapid fire fun ones. What, if there's one food you could eat every single day for the rest of your life and never get sick of it, what would it be?
Well, it appears to be peanut butter because I do.
Amazing. What's your favorite sport to participate in?
Right now it's pickleball. I'm so middle-aged.
I love that. That's really having a moment. I learned pickleball in high school, but it's really having a moment now.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
How about to watch and cheer on as a fan?
I love watching really athletic dancing. I would love to be able to do that. And I'm amazed by what they can do.
Amazing. Last question. I know there's a lot of people, but if there's a female athlete out there that you want to give a shout out to in your own life personally or well-known that you just think is inspiring and amazing, who would that be? Well,
I mentored this woman, Karen Davies, who is the winningest Harvard Olympian of all time, 3 medals from the Olympics, lots of gold. And she's just been very open to learning, very humble, very earnest. And she had the success I always wanted. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was able to sort of mentor her to give her support based on what I'd learned in inner journeys. But then she was able to go out and like have all this crazy success. But then she's always learning and being open. So it's just been a lovely relationship. We've been friends now for 30 years and it's amazing. It's lovely. Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Whitney. What an honor to have you on this podcast, share this information, and also spread the good news of this book that everybody can probably benefit from, including athletes and including female athletes.
Yeah, great. I'm so glad you're doing the work you're doing. It's so important.
Thank you so much for listening. I really hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, I would truly appreciate if you could share this episode with a friend, give us a 5-star rating, or even leave a comment and a review. It really helps boost engagement and searchability and get episodes like this into the ears of people who will benefit from improving their nutrition and getting help. If you yourself are looking for more resources and help, you can head to riseupnutritionrun.com to learn about all my services and offerings. You can also find more resources at femaleathletenutritionpodcast.com, where we have all the resources surrounding this podcast. Both of those links are included in the show notes. There, you will also find ways to support this podcast. You can support the podcast with a financial contribution, link in the show notes and on the websites. And you can find ways to get in touch with me. If you are looking for help with your personal nutrition, you can head to my website and get in contact with me, and we can talk about applying for nutrition coaching help. Perhaps you are looking to be a guest on the podcast. You can head to femaleathletenutritionpodcast.com and submit a form to be a guest on this show or recommend somebody else. I also have discount codes and links to different products and companies and resources and free downloadable handouts within the websites that are always evolving and being updated. So please check them out. Many of these companies and products I do occasionally talk about on the show, but they're listed on the websites as their forever home that you can easily access when you're looking for help. Thank you so much for being a fan. Please reach out if you need help and I'll see you in the next episode.